Hi everyone, I'm Lori with Behavior Education at Spirit Keeper Equine Sanctuary. Welcome to Serpentes Sunday for June 11th, 2021. I have a couple of things for you in this episode. The first thing is I'm going to answer a question from a viewer who asked if it was possible to change targets. If you started your snake target training with one target, is it possible to change to another target? And the answer is yes. And there are a few reasons why you might want to do this. Now, this particular viewer asked the question because she started when her snake was very small and the target that she was using was very small, and she wanted to change to a larger target once the snake grew to adulthood, and that's absolutely possible, and it's a wise thing to do. So here are some other reasons why you might want to change from the target that you started with to another target. If for some reason the snake has perceived something aversive during a training session and is now afraid of the original target, that's a great reason to change to a different target. And all you have to do in that case is stop using the old target altogether because the snake is already afraid of it, and just start with a new target from the beginning. In other words, you're going to start pairing that new target with food, and you're going to take all the steps that you were working on before to get your snake target trained. Now, if you're choosing to change the target for your convenience, then what you want to do is pair the old target with the new target a few times, and then eventually fade out the old target and use only the new target. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. If the snake is very, very good at target training, they're well trained using a target, and you want to switch to one that looks completely different. Maybe it's a different color, maybe it's a different shape, maybe you want to go from a round target to a flat one because you want it to be more versatile, or just because a different target is more convenient for you. And so there's no problem with that, but since your snake already learned with one target, you definitely want to pair the two for a while until the snake gets used to seeing both. And then you're going to take away the old target and show them just the new target. Another reason that I've changed targets in the past is I've had two snakes cohabitated in the same habitat, and they were both trained with the same target. So when I wanted to work with them, I wanted to be able to separate them and have them each go to their own target. And so I chose one of the snakes to change to a different target. And so they each learned their own. And now when I shift them out, they each go to their own target. The second thing that you're going to see in this week's Serpentes Sunday is just an environmental screw up that I made when I was putting together one of the new black box cages enclosures. And it's nothing to do with the cage, it's how I set it up. I usually really like to plan out my enclosures, my training environments. I like to plan out things ahead of time to make sure that not only is the training successful, but care and keeping is easy for me and safe and goes smoothly for the snake as well. And I realized that I set up the water/swimming pool in one of my Bredli enclosures behind a log that I couldn't easily get out. And so she had this nice large swimming area that she could also drink from, but it was behind a big log that was not permanently affixed to the enclosure, but I had to take the roof off of the enclosure to get it in there. And obviously I don't want to do that every time I need to change or clean the water. And I also had other things in front of it. Hi everyone. So this is a 5 foot long by 2 foot high by 2 foot deep black box cages enclosure. And one of my Morelia Bredli, Qetesh, lives in here. And she was hatched on July 17th, 2020. And today is June 29th, 2021. So she is just shy of a year old. And I love this enclosure, and she loves this enclosure. There she is up there in her sky hide, and I've woken her up because she just shed. I pulled open the door to take her shed out, and then I noticed that her water is filthy, which led me to realize a flaw in my enclosure design. Her water is back there. It's big enough for her to swim in and such, and it's behind this big log, which is wedged in, and behind these smaller logs and this rock, and her humid hide is behind that log, this rock, and that one. So now that I need to get her water dish out and clean it, I realize this is not going to work. So I'm going to have to wait until she fully wakes up later and she comes out, and I'm gonna have to take all of the stuff out of this side of the enclosure to get to her water and her humid hide and clean all that. And then I think I'm obviously gonna have to rethink where I put her water, like maybe put all of this stuff back there where the water is and put her water close to the door. But for now, I've put a bowl of drinking water in here so that she has fresh, clean water to drink until I figure out how I'm getting her pool out and how I'm going to clean that. So I just thought I'd share that with you as I try to share things with you as I learn them. And she's one of the snakes whose old habitat is in here with her. That's in 12 by 12 by 18 Exoterra or Zoomed or Zilla, I don't remember which brand, terrarium. And I put the whole thing in here and just opened the door, and then she was free to explore the habitat at large as she likes. And it didn't take her more than a few days to start doing that. And now she uses all of the space in this habitat enclosure. So I had to take almost everything out of the enclosure in order to get her water out. And I had to rearrange things so that I could put the water at the front so that in the future it would be easier to clean. So don't do that. I already made the mistake, so now you don't need to. This is Qetesh doing a target training session, just one repetition, in the very early hours of the morning on Sunday, June 11th, 2021 for Serpentes Sunday. I wanted her occupied so that I could give you a tour of how I rearranged her enclosure. She did a really nice job in her target training session, as she usually does. And while her mouth was full, it gave me an opportunity to show you the changes that I made to her enclosure. So after taking everything out of this end of the enclosure, I replaced that large swimming pool with this large round water dish, and I moved her rock cave to the back where her swimming pool had been. I was able to put her humid hide back in the approximate same location that it was in before, and I just rearranged some of the other items there at the front of her enclosure. But the main thing was I was able to put a water bowl in there large enough that she can still fully submerge in, that she can still swim in, because she's still quite young. She's still under a year old, or she's turning a year old this month. And I figured that later on down the road, once I take her old enclosure out of this larger enclosure, that I'll be able to put a larger swimming area back in there for her. Now, I'm not even sure if she's using that area to swim in or not. I haven't actually seen her swimming in it. I only have 2 snakes that I've actually seen swimming and that actually swim almost every single night, and that is one of my Morelia Bredli and my jungle carpet python. But once this terrarium, which is 12 by 12 by 18, is out of her enclosure, when she's older and doesn't really utilize it for anything anymore, then I will have the space to put a larger water dish or a larger swimming pool in here if I wanted to, if I think that she'll use it. But that's a very large water dish right there. It's the ones that Reptile Basics sells, so it is big enough for her to swim in if she would like to. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Serpentes Sunday. I appreciate all of you subscribing, and if you haven't already subscribed, please do subscribe. I appreciate everybody that's watching all of the content. Remember that every Tuesday we have training videos. It's Training Tuesday. The first Sunday of every month is Super Dwarf Sunday, and that features our Super Dwarf Reticulated Python Tau-Ceti from Reach Out Reptiles. And then now on Thursdays, we have a series called Royals at the Ranch, which is about Python Regis and some different things that we're doing with them here as far as behavior training and temperament testing. If you have any questions, you can reach me at behavioreducationllc@gmail.com. You can visit my website at behavioreducation.org, or you can reach me on social media via Facebook or Instagram. I am also on Twitter and LinkedIn, but I very seldom use those. Until next time, everybody, please remember to always be kind and love your animals.